Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Word on Wednesday. Today is Ash Wednesday, so we're going to talk a little bit about temptation. A bit of context for you, just in case you're not aware. Ash Wednesday is the day that marks the beginning of Lent, and Lent is a 40-day period of time, not including Sundays, that represents the time that Jesus spent in the wilderness before he started his ministry. For those 40 days and nights, Jesus fasted, so he didn't eat anything in that time. And in these 40 days and 40 nights, Satan came and tempted him. And we're going to read that account in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. But in this time of Lent, Christians take the opportunity to set time aside to either fast or take something up with the intent of focusing on Jesus' life and in preparation for Easter, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So let's read together. Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down. For it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. "All this I will give you," he said, "if you will bow down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and angels came and attended him. Now, I just want to focus a bit more on the practicalities of this passage. We read it probably every year, maybe more frequently than that. And it can be really easy to read it and not give enough credit to what's really going on. Now, what I mean by that is that we should be greatly encouraged by this passage. We really should, knowing that Jesus was tempted too. Because Jesus is perfect. He's fully God and fully human. And as Hebrews chapter 2 verse 18 points out, because he himself, that's Jesus, suffered, because Jesus suffered when he was tempted, he's able to help those who are also being tempted. And that's a magnificent encouragement. So we should be greatly encouraged by this passage. But we shouldn't just gloss over it and read it as a nice story that encourages a bit. But I mean, it is that, and it's important we are encouraged by it. But let's take a deeper look at this. Verse 2, straight away, we see that after fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Have you ever missed a meal? Or maybe you've had a really long day at school or college or work, and you're like, "Oh, I can't wait for that banging Chinese I'm about to have when I get home." And you get home and you're waiting for your dinner, but for some reason it takes forever to arrive. And you just get so annoyed and so irritable. And for me personally, if I go a bit too long without food, I get a bit hangry. And I know quite a few other people that do as well. Our bodies need food for nourishment, and our brains need it for fuel. So if we don't eat, it's likely that we're going to get irritable. Now, we need to see that the devil didn't tempt Jesus when he was with his friends, having a good time, and everything was all jolly. At the point that Jesus was tempted by the devil, it's very likely that he was irritable. It's likely that he felt lonely. We know that he was hungry, and he was probably very tired. And it's not like the devil tried once and gave up. No, he came back. He tempted Jesus again and again. Now, this helps us. It serves as a warning, or maybe as a word of caution, that we are to expect temptation in this life. And it might be that the temptations that we face come when we're on our own at night. Maybe when everyone's gone to bed, we're sitting in bed, and we suddenly feel really tempted by X, Y, or Z when no one else is around. But it's in those moments we need to hold tightly to the word of God and hold tightly to God's promises. We're not promised a life of ease at all, and we're not promised a life free of temptation, but we are promised comfort and company from our Creator. So my challenge to you really for this next week and maybe over the course of Lent is to reread this passage, Matthew 4, verse 1 to 11, and really mull over the verses one by one. Reflect on what you might feel tempted by at the moment, and know that Jesus hears you and he wants to help you through whatever you're going through. And while you're reflecting, maybe take a moment to think about whether you feel like you're being prompted to either give something or take something up over this course of Lent. This could be giving up a social media account, maybe giving up your morning coffee, or maybe you take up intentionally praying for someone specific at a certain time of day, or maybe intentionally taking up some time with God if that's not something that you already do. Whatever you might feel prompted by. And if you do, maybe chat to someone. It's not something that you have to talk to someone about, but maybe you want to tell a parent or a youth worker or a pastor, maybe someone who you might want to hold you accountable, just to ask you how it's going. But whatever you do, we really pray that this Lent you'd really draw close to God and that you'd know his presence and lean on him, especially when you face temptations. But until then, guys, we hope you have a great week. Bless you all and take care.